Long box. Sorry, there's no intro or anything like that. I'm not using StreamYard. I'm just using regular old YouTube. So let's see now. Can I change this? No, I can. Oh, I can zoom in. Cool. I didn't realize I could do that. All right. So, oh, I got a thumbs up. Let me know. Can you hear me? Can you see me? There is a raging storm outside. Seems like it's. Hey, good morning, Judge Smalls. Good morning, John. Thank you for the great videos. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the comment. That's wonderful. I just woke up. I don't know what's wrong with me, but well, I've been working nights all week, and then I've been working days. Oh, like one day I'd work during the day, and the next day I work during the night. So my sleep pattern's been messed up. So I stayed up way too late last night. So I'm tired now. I've been uh, mainlining coffee. Yeah, I'm just waiting for it the caffeine to activate and hit my brain. So that was nice to wake up. I only woke up like 20 minutes ago. Already getting a compliment. Thank you. Men rarely get compliments, so that's nice. Okay, and I made like the perfect pot of coffee, just like the perfect ratio. Holy moly, everything's going good. Two thumbs up. All right, so oh god, let's get the unpleasant business out of the way. Please like, please subscribe. I created a membership where all the money's going to go to funding a comic. Um, how no, how long in the future will this comic make? Well, that depends on a bunch of things. If you are a member, whatever comics I make, you will get an autographed copy by myself and Renzo Rodriguez, the wonderful artist who's doing all this. Okay, so I hate doing all that stuff, but I guess everybody has to be their own Stan Lee. What a wonderful comic book I'm making. It's the best comic book in the world. How's that? That's my Stan Lee impersonation. All right, so I'm just filibustering for a minute or two. I see I got one person watching. I thought I saw some chats. I can't seem to scroll back. Oh well. Oh, Marcus Kellegrew. How you doing, Marcus? Hale, how you doing? Okay, you know what? The filibustering's always the worst, and it's just going to change people away. So let's begin. So I heard the unfortunate news this week that Joe Matt had died. Uh, Joe Matt, for those of you who do not know, was the creator of Peepshow. See, Joe Matt's Peepshow. This is Joe Matt over here. I put 4 comics on here. I can't imagine going past 4. But it's a 14-issue series, and the comics came out very sporadically. When I had Terry Moore on my channel, he was talking about he wanted to go to Fantagraphic Books, and I think when I was talking to Tonic Mole, I mentioned Fantagraphic Books because in my crazy Swiss cheese brain addled mind, I remembered this comic coming out under Fantagraphic, but it's actually drawn and quarterly. Okay, so I misremembered that. So I guess it's time to set the record straight. It won't be the first time I misremembered things. I misremember everything, like my wife's birthday, our anniversary, Christmas, where my address. I seem to forget lots of things. Then let me take another sip of coffee. Delicious Tim Hortons coffee. My Canadian wife introduced. Oh, I just realized this all pulls together. My wife is from Canada. Tim Hortons coffee is from Canada. And Joe Matt illegally lived in Canada from why can't I think of the from 1988 to 2002. So there we go. It all pulls together. Matter of fact, I thought Joe Matt was Canadian, but he's American. He was born and raised in Philadelphia. He was a Roman Catholic, went to Catholic school, and he went to art school and became friends with Matt Wagner. Matt Wagner being the famous creator of Grendel and why can't I remember other things that Matt? Oh, and Mage. Oh my God, did I love Mage? I did a showcase on both of those comics. Oh man, Matt Wagner is a creator, a comic book creator I really love. So, and when I was collecting Joe Matt, I didn't realize he was friends with Matt Wagner. But there was like a Toronto comic book scene. It was him. Why can't I think of the other names? But boy, this is really professionally done. Okay, so he lived in Toronto and he worked with other comics like Chester Brown. Chester Brown did a comic called The Playboy that I really loved. And I'll never forget, I gave a copy of that to one of my friends who wasn't really into comic books. And he loved The Playboy. And we went to my comic book store, and he said, "Man, if all comic books were like this, I'd read comics." And Larry, he goes, "Well, why don't you read the comics like that?" Just very matter of factly. Larry was good like that, and wah wah wah. And he slunk out of the store, and then Seth, and I'm not too familiar with Seth, but Chester Brown was also on Drawn and Quarterly, or maybe Fantagraphics. Matt Wagner became famous with Grendel and Mage, and Joe Matt did Peepshow, and he colored a few other things, most notably Grendel and Fish Police, Johnny Quest. He had to pay the bill somehow. He died at the age of 60 at his desk. He lived in Los Angeles, California. Oh man. For a couple of years, HBO and David X. Cohen, the creator of Futurama, and Matt were working to make The Poor Bastard into an animated series. The Poor Bastard is the story, the first 6 issues. If the first 6 issues are collected into a graphic novel, and it's called The Poor Bastard. Again, I'm a gushing fanboy. Let me take another sip of coffee. Can you hear me? The comments kind of stopped. Can I get a comment just to make sure that you guys can all hear me? And we'll go. All right, so. Oh, all good. Oh, Fabrizio's here. Fabrizio, thank you. Fabrizio Aiello is here. One of my favorite creators. He creates the wonderful comic Horace H. Hoover. I always have to say that slow because I always want to say Harding. Horace H. Hoover. Oh, Marcus Kellegrew, we can hear you. Thank you. It's just that I don't know what's going on, but it seems like every Sunday out here in New York, it's just a raging storm, which is great because I don't have to go out and water the lawn. So, all right. So without further ado, let's get into Peepshow. So, Peepshow is an autobiographical comic about Joe Matt. It's very slice of life. I don't know if you've read American Splendor, where that was about Harvey P. Cars. Just how arrogant, how egotistical, but then again, I guess writers, artists, whatever, have to have a little bit of arrogance in themselves, thinking that people want to read it. But this is about himself. This is his own life. This is, the interesting stories of his life. And I just remember when I was working at the comic store, other people would we would be putting this on the shelf, and that we got so many comics at the time that you couldn't possibly read everything. You're working at a comic store. Hundreds of comic books came in every month back then. This was the 80s and early 90s when I was working in the comic store. So there was a whole bunch of independents. There was black and whites. It was really, really a golden age of comics. It was a fun time to be working in a comic book store, and it was a fun time to be into comics. So there was like Love and Rockets. All of these independent black and white comics were just booming. So of course I didn't read them all, and you really couldn't even pay attention to them all. It was just put them on the shelf, organize, whatever. And a couple of customers were like, do you read that Peepshow? Man, it's gross. This guy's disgusting. This guy's a slob. And I was like, this sounds like an interesting comic book. And at the time, I was full on Marvel and DC fanboy. I was a full on Comico and First and Eclipse. This is before Image. So, I was just buying comics. And remember, I was working at the comic book store, so I was buying comic books for retail, you know what I mean, for the markup, without the markup. So, and it was before, I can't even talk, I'm starting to laugh. It was funny because some weeks I wouldn't even get a paycheck. I would just take all my money in comic books. So I'd be working for comic books. My mom used to laugh at me. But I was in high school. Everything was better before Image. Marcus Kellegrew. You know what's funny about that? When Image came out, I thought they were punk rock. You just got me on a tangent, but that's the way I am. When Image came out, I was really into them. I was into the idea of them. Let's be more honest. I was like, all right, they're sticking it to the man. I was totally into punk rock and do it yourself. And, I was into all the Discord records where all these guys were making their own record label. They bought their own house, and these punks lived in a house and recorded. I thought that was the coolest thing. So when these guys pulled out of Marvel to form Image, I was gangbusters with them, and I was buying all the comics. But there was a little voice inside of me that said, boy, these comics suck. But I didn't want to admit it. I should have been that kid that I prided myself on being the guy who told the emperor that he was naked. But something about Image, I just kept quiet. And then finally, after a while, I'm like, these comics suck. Like, it took a couple of years. I just didn't like Image comics, with the exception of Gen 13, which I really liked, because that comic was actually well written. And, back then, I guess I was a late teen or, late teen, I think. And I guess I couldn't articulate it, but I've since succinctly said this during the course of this channel, that good art will get me to look at your comic, maybe even buy your comic. But good storytelling, good writing will get me to keep getting your comic. Okay? Oh, hi, Matt. Hey, good to see you, Matt. Matt Bear is the artist on Rock and Roll Ninja. He's a fellow New York punk. We were joking around that he's another Bridge and Tunnel, or Tunnel and Bridge. I forget what it was. B and T or T and B. I forget the way it went. Peepshow, 25-cent peep. Yeah, this was big in Manhattan at the time too, when Matt and I were probably running around. I joke around that I probably stage dived on top of Matt's head at one point at CBGB's without realizing it. But it's good to see you, Matt. Thank you for coming. So as I was saying, good art would get me to look at and even buy your comic, but good storytelling would. And Image was not about good storytelling. So I started to sour on Image, and I kind of turned away from him. And then I started to resent Image, because, like, I was out of college by that time. Okay. Oh, so Marcus is a little older than me. It's good to know that there's somebody on this planet older than me. But I started to resent Image. I felt like they were hoodwinking me. And what did they do? They pulled all the talent away from Marvel. So Marvel sucked throughout the 90s. Image Comics sucked, because it was all like late comics and splash pages, and it was literally Image. It was like like an illusion. There was no substance. And then DC started to stink because whatever, the same reason as Marvel. And then comic books got more expensive because they had to compete with they went on better paper. They had better, so it got more expensive and nothing was good. So I started to really, really resent Image. And it wasn't until around 2000 when Image, I guess like the crummy stuff got canceled, and the good quality stuff stayed around. And Image for I'll say like a good 5 years or so. I'm sure my memory's playing tricks on me with the dates, but around 2000, Image started becoming, like, I thought, the best comic book company. But anyway, what does that have to do with Peepshow? Absolutely nothing. It's just a divergent. And now Image is, oh man, Image is terrible. And to the point where I've heard, I cannot confirm nor deny, but I've heard it's like a scam. Like people just like owe Image money after like 5 or 6 Image. Like you have to pay Image, and then they pay you after they recoup their money or whatever. I don't know. It just sounds like a scam to me. And then that Skybound with Mark Kirkman just sounds like an even bigger scam. So focus. Let's get to it. Peepshow. What does it have to do with Peepshow? Absolutely nothing. So guys at my comic book store would tell me that this guy's gross, this guy's disgusting, this comic is lewd, and I'm like, I got to check it out. Now, right now, I would say like the closest to Peepshow that I know right now is Tonic Mole with Saving the World, in the fact that it's like slice of life, real people. Now, there's no superheroics. This is just, matter of fact, Joe Matt hated superhero comics. He hated that he had to color a few comics for a living. But why did I bring up Tonic Mole? Because it just reminds me of like slice of life. Tonic Mole's characters are real. Like, Kiara and Lily and all the characters in Saving the World. His dialogue is real. The people are real. The drawings aren't like crazy, except when they're using superpowers. But you know what I mean? They'll talk about the slice of life. So if you take out the superheroics, this kind of reminds me. So and he's got definitely a 90s aesthetic. So whatever. That's neither here nor there. I'm letting the caffeine hit my brain. So. Good morning, Agent Zero. Good morning, Agent. Agent Zero's coming on my channel, too. Good morning. Good. Can't wait to talk to you. That's gonna be fun. Hopefully, I'll be awake by then. All right. So let's stop ranting or even wasting time. Let's open up this comic. So this is greetings from Ipanema. And you know what's funny? Uh, the girl from Ipanema by Stan Getz, and I can't remember the woman's Estrid something. That's one of my favorite songs. I know that's like the stereotypical like bad elevator music, but I love that freaking song. It's like so haunting, and I read this comic and I'll tell you I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked. The man's a genius, a disturbed genius. So let's look at the indicia. Oh, this is second printing. God damn it! I didn't know that. I have another copy. This better be first printing. Oh my God. My day. All right. Published by Drawn and Quarterly. What year did this come out? Montreal, Quebec. Does it have a year? It's got to have a year. 1993. This is the 1993. So here we have Joe Matt laying on his bed. What is he doing? You figure it out. He's got the tissues, he's got the mattress, and then two sexy chicks come walking in. What's going on? You imagine what's going on, and he wakes up. So right away, first page, we got a guy fantasizing about chicks, and then Ipanema is the name of the comic. Trust me, it's brilliant. So what do we have here? This is reality now. That's Trish, his girlfriend. That's Joe Matt, and they're eating breakfast. And the apartment. It's just, doesn't this remind you of like American Splendor? Harvey Keitel. The art isn't as clean as the Hernandez brothers. Man, I would love to have the Hernandez brothers. And what's going on? They're fighting. She, they're a regular couple. They're feuding. The dialogue. I'm not going to read the comic. I'm not reading to you. Good morning, Arthur Tripp. How you doing? And now they're fighting and they're going to bed angry. Dun dun dun. That's just normal. Nothing but. And here we got Chester Brown and Seth. That they're commiserating, talking about the problems they can't get published. All that's coming out is these stupid Marvel comics and superhero comics. Good morning, Marcus. Oh yeah, I guess you're saying hello to Arthur. And they're going to I guess it's like a Kinko's or a photocopy, and there's this beautiful girl, this beautiful exotic girl. He's a guy from Philadelphia. Moved to Toronto, and there's this like beautiful exotic hey Matt. I'm getting caught up in other guys' conversations. She's there, and he just can't stop thinking. And what the girl from Ipanema is playing in the background. That song. Tall and the girl from Ipanema is calling. And that song, I can't play it without getting copyright struck. But that is the ultimate song about unrequited love. That song is written. I forget in Ipanema, Brazil. And the author, Stan Getz, I guess it was just sitting on the beach, and he saw this beautiful girl. Just every day she would walk by, and she didn't even glance away. And he was like, "Does she even realize how much I love her? How can I tell her I love her? How can you know?" And this girl just goes about her life. She's not being mean. She's not being unattainable. She literally has no clue. It's a beach. It's a crowded beach in Brazil, and she's just walking by, and and he can't even muster up the courage. When I was a kid, that was like, oh man, that's me. How could I talk that girl? Again, on Monday Music, I talked about the Descendants. How could that girl like that guy, not like me? Well, you know what? You didn't talk to her. Maybe she was nice. You don't know. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So he's not talking to this girl. And then he's like, look at her. Oh, I wish I was single again, and now he's laying in bed daydreaming about her. And there's his pretty blonde girlfriend just laying in bed next to him, And what is he doing? He's on the phone. He's talking to his buddies, blah, 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 blah. He's having a great old time. Trish comes home, and look, they're fighting, they're feuding. And you better believe that I was siding with Trish because he's just miserable, You want to be happy? Happiness is a decision, And I'm chasing away viewers. I guess they're not interested in this. And there's the girl from Ipanema. So he just calls her the girl from Ipanema, and then later he calls her Ipanema. And he's like, "Did you see that girl? She was beautiful." He's like, "What girl? What girl?" What did she say? Was she better looking than me? Was she? And he's like, Why leave me alone? And that's the kind of stuff, I'm side with Matt on that time. Girls, don't pester you guys. And he is danger. What are you thinking about? Nothing. He's thinking about the girl from Ipanema. This was interesting. Again, I don't want to read the comic book to you. This is just like, a tribute to Joe Matt and whatever. But this I really found interesting, and believe it or not, this like inspired me. But for those of you who are my age or older, you'll remember ViewMaster reels. It was that little camera device that you put up to your eyes, and you see these round discs. They had like little like color, like almost like negatives, but they weren't negatives. They were color, and you put them in the ViewMaster, and you could see them. And he's talking about how the early ones were puppetry, and the later ones were animation cells, and the puppetry ones he would collect, go out of the way. This is before eBay. This is like the infancy of the internet. So it must have been hard to find. And he would go around and get these ViewMaster reels. And that was his collection. And I was talking about this in another video. I remember ViewMaster. Okay, Marcus is backing me up. But me and Marcus are the Council of Elrond over here, the elders of Middle-earth counseling the younger races. But I talked about it in another video, how I love hearing about other people's hobbies. Yes, when I was talking with Tantalizing Adventures on Friday night, I brought that up if you check out that video. A little sip of Tim Hortons coffee, get my brain activated. So I was fascinated reading about this. I didn't realize that this was a whole thing. So now she's yelling at him, what are you doing? You're wasting time looking at the ViewMaster. You should be working. We're struggling. And she's making fun of him. And now he's like complaining about Tish. He wishes he could break up with her so he could hit on the girl from Ipanema, blah, 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 And then he realizes he was wrong, so he's making breakfast. And I'm skipping through this because buy this. Even though... So now he's like, oh, I ran into that beautiful girl. He's trying not to sound like excited. Oh, really? Where does she live? And she's like, she lives with her boyfriend. You understand? And so she knows, how can you not be interested in this beautiful girl and whatever. And Tish, it's not like Tish is perfect too. She's got like flaw. And that's one thing I really like about this comic is Joe Matt doesn't sugarcoat anything. He makes himself as not detestable, but as unlikable as possible. And then he honestly shows like how his girlfriend is nice, but he shows her flaws. He's showing like his friends' flaws, and and later on, around issue 7, he starts talking about like fans who approach him. Oh, I really liked the Poor Bastard. That's the name of the first 6 issues. The graphic novel sold better than the floppies. And then so he starts writing about the fans, and then around issue 9, he's writing about the reaction of the fans' reactions to. So he's meeting this guy and this girl, and he's hanging out with them, and he just wants to sleep with the girl. So the character that the real life guy that was characterized, he's like, I thought you were my friend. You just wanted to bang my girlfriend. So he doesn't sugarcoat anything. So now they're fighting, and then she got a job at a daycare center, Tish, because they needed money, and he walks in, and there's the girl from Ipanema, or as he calls her, Ipanema. She works there, and he's like, oh my God, what are you gonna? It's like, look, this is my boyfriend Joe, and he just can't deal it. And that night they're banging, and he's just like, thinking about the girl from Ipanema, and she's like getting frustrated. He's like, what's wrong? Was I repulsive? He just can't do, because he feels guilty because he's thinking about the other girl, and he can't be with the girl he's with, and now he's giving this long soliloquy, and she's falling asleep and whatever. And then when she falls asleep, what does he do? He takes care of business, thinking about the girl from Ipanema. It's that kind of comic book. So she goes to kiss him, and you smell bad, coffee breath, and she gets mad. You know what I mean? Keep in mind, like back then, I was like, these men are gross. But now I realize that, neither one of them are a piece of cake over here. They're both kind of miserable. And what does he do? She leaves. He's got a girl living with him, and here he is taking care of business. And he's fantasizing about the girl from Ipanema, and in his fantasy, he's feeling guilty. I just love that. He's like, you can't be in this fantasy. I'm with Tish and blah, blah, blah. And then, and now he's talking about how his repulsive life. And hey, how you doing, Joe? So now the girl from Ipanema is on a first name basis with him because his girlfriend works with her. And now he's meeting the boyfriend. Look at he's a big handsome guy. What do you expect? And he's just like, who would ever like me? And then they're fighting. So now he realizes, I don't know. I love this panel. This is it. This could be my big chance. So they're having a party. She's having a work party. They're going to the girl from Ipanema's house. So he's like, oh, this is my chance. So what's he doing? He's planning on like breaking up with Tish and hitting on the girl from Ipanema. He's shaving, and look how happy she is. Oh, you're shaving, you're getting cleaned up. And he's like, yeah. And as he's getting dressed, the girl from Ipanema is playing. It's an omen. Just how not creepy. How like, I don't know, what's the word? It's like devious. And then the party got canceled, so he's like, oh no, he's miserable. And so now, Tish, his girlfriend, is bringing Frankie. She actually became friends with her. And he's like, hey, look, Frankie's over. And he's like, oh, I'm working. And he's like, I can't show her what I'm working on. It's gross. Look at him. He doesn't know how to deal with it. And he's like, I'm going to go visit my friends. I'm going to go visit my parents much. So now he's on his own. He's looking for Frankie. She's back. And what did she do? She's a good girlfriend. She got him Viewmaster reels. He somehow got he's like, Viewmaster reels, wow, and they're the old puppet shows that I collect, so they have problems, but now they want to fool around, and she finds porno. Like, you watch a porno when I'm gone, it's like, well, what do you want? I'm a man, blah, 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 and then she's mad. She won't sleep with them. They're fighting, blah, 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 Big party with all the guys. I'm spending too long on this comic. And, I love this. I absolutely love this. So what did she do? He's all excited. She's at the party, and he's like, hey, you want to check out my Viewmaster? And he's like, look at it. He's like, here, Frankie, take a look. Go ahead. She's like, I'm not interested. He's like, God, what do you mean not interested? Take a look. And look at it. She's like, I'm not interested. He's being like, he goes, anyway, but you don't want to see my Viewmaster puppet reels, And now, what is Tish? She's showing her friends, look how cool they are. I just love that she's actually interested in his goofy hobby. And what does he do? He's starting to realize that Tish isn't so bad. That like the girl from Ipanema, it was just a fantasy. He's like, because she probably doesn't. I got a feeling Frankie doesn't like me much. Because she probably doesn't. Last week when I mentioned that porno video you rented, she got disgusted. He's like, yeah, you told her? He's like, yeah, what do you care? What do you like her? She goes, you're the one who keeps saying there's nothing wrong with pornography. Well, you keep mentioning it in your damn comics anyway. He's like, if I don't care, it's just embarrassing. He's like, why am I embarrassed? Look, I'm living with you. And then they fight. And, they make up. He realizes that she's a catch, and I like it. He's going back to work. And now what's he doing? He's hiding because he's putting all this into a comic. And I love this. So, like there's a moment of sweetness in I just realized this is like heavy cardstock, and this is newsprint. So this is number 2. I don't know. What's the name? Oh, the treadmill. Okay. My favorite issue is coming up though, and I'm not gonna. I'll go quicker, but you get the picture. So it's slice of life comics. So now he's living in a boarding house. It's the same place. He's living in Toronto. He's living in a boarding house. And he shares the bathroom with other people, like, this guy, I just have to laugh because I know exactly what he's doing. He shares a bathroom with this guy, and this big guy is always in his underwear in the bathroom, and then he just wants to talk to you, and he's kind of grossed out by him. So he's like, oh, they share a kitchen, they share a bathroom. All they have is a private bedroom. So he's just like trying to avoid him, and now he's, talking to his buddies. Like, he comes alive in anime when he's talking to like Chester Brown and Seth and Matt Wagner. And Tish doesn't live with him at this point. She lives elsewhere, and he's going to get Tish. She's coming to visit him, and he's trying to avoid this guy, and just going on and on and on and on. So I'm going to speed up because nothing happens for a couple of panels. It's mostly like woe is me. So what's going on? He's talking about how he can't get a job, how he loves this other girl. Tish and him are constantly fighting, And what does Chester Brown say? He says, you love it. This is your life. You love living on this treadmill. You love the same routine. You love the same complaints. You love the same familiar problems because you don't change anything. And believe me, this really resonated with me because maybe a year from now, is when a year from now when this comic came out is when I packed up and moved across the country, because I found myself in the same rut. I was complaining, the same old complaints, the same old concerns. I was miserable. I was more like Joe Matt than I care to admit. So he realized, but the difference is I ended up packing up and I moved to Albuquerque. I literally changed my personality. It was like a conscious decision. I stopped being that woe is me. Good morning, Jeff. Good to see you, Jeff. I always love when Jeff shows up. Thank you for coming in, Jeff. We're talking about Joe Bat Peep Show. This issue is not my favorite, so that's why I'm going too fast. I find some of them being... So now Tish is breaking up with him because she had enough, and he's devastated. Tish broke up with him, and hello, hey, Kevin Ryan, how you doing? And now he, with another girl, and he's happy. But the gist of that story is that, oh yeah, I should put it back, because this story actually inspired me. Again, I'm not even joking. The first issue, what I got out of it was like, talk to the girl that you like, appreciate the girl that you're with, and I believe it or not, like, Joe Matt is gross. Like, these stories are unflattering, but I did get a lot out of it. Like, this taught me, like, believe me, when I went to Albuquerque, I thought about this comic because there was a girl there that was just beautiful, and she just walked up and she just commanded everybody's presence, and I started calling her Ipanema until I knew her real name. And I just reminded myself, I crossed the country. And keep in mind, I'm still ugly, I'm still fat, I'm still a comic book nerd. So I was just like, I'm going to go talk to her. And I just went up and started talking to her, and she was a sweetheart. She lit up a room. And I was just like, hey, come on, let's go back to my dorm room. And she was like, okay. And we ended up doing the lovey-doveys. And I was just like, that was the greatest. She looked like Sherilyn Finn from Twin Peaks. This was the height of Twin Peaks. Oh my God, and that was like the boost of confidence that geez, I'm trying to think. I was like 20, and I'm 54, and I'm still living off that boost of confidence. And I kind of do owe it to Joe Matt, because this comic taught me, like, like the girl, but you don't do anything about it, you're miserable. This comic, believe it or not, taught me, like, you're living on a treadmill, you got the same old problems, same old complaints, and you don't do anything about it. And what does he do? He chased away his girlfriend, which they were kind of a bad couple, if you ask me. And I had another friend, I'm not going to mention names in case he watches this, but he was complaining, the same old complaints. And I remember we're hanging out in the bar, and I just said to him, you got 1 year. And he's like, what? I said, you got 1 year. I said, I'm one of your best friends. I will listen to your complaints for 1 more year. So I noted the date. I don't remember the date. I said, on this date next year, I'm not listening to your complaints anymore. I said, because anybody could fix their life in a year. If you don't fix your life in 1 year, that means you like it and you like complaining. But okay, so you got a year. And I think he got mad at me, and kind of backfired, because he moved. He moved to San Diego, and I literally haven't seen him since. We still message each other. I take it back. He came back for a funeral, and he came back for, I forget what, I think to get the rest of his stuff. So I've seen him two times since 1994. Hey, Bucky. How you doing, Bucky? Bucky's another one of the guys who's been around with me since the beginning. Good to see you, Bucky. 100% truth. Can't waste time complaining. Fabrizio's backing me up. All right, Fabrizio. So he actually moved across the country, and he's married now. He got a job that he loved. He retired, and I hope in the back of his mind, he's like, I owe it all to John Longbox kicking me in the pants. And here's another funny thing is, this is, keeping it real goes wrong, right? With that Chappelle sketch. I was working at Tower Records, and there was this beautiful girl. Matter of fact, she had the same hair as the girl from Ipanema in this, but she was this white girl with big blue eyes and beautiful blonde hair, and she had this, like, beauty mark on her cheek. But what she did that was just so striking is I called her the Lavender Girl. I can't remember her name. and she wore lavender lipstick, and she wore lavender eyeshadows, and she had a lavender scarf in her hair, and she always wore lavender clothes. So she was this like tan white girl with blonde hair, big blue eyes, and then lavender accoutrements. Is that the word? Oh, she was a vision, and she was a sweetheart. Now this is before I moved, so I still had that "woe is me, girls don't like me" personality, you know, which I could totally understand why I didn't do too well with the girls. Lavender blue dilly dilly. Yes, yes, yes. It's funny because I even like sang that song to her. How pathetic is that? And so we started talking. Back then, I'm not gonna talk about the crude things I used to call myself here, but I try to family friendly show it on Peepshow. That ain't possible. So I used to say I was the emotional tampon. Like the girls would just like drain all their emotions on me and then go with their boyfriends. And I was a sad sack. That's why I identified with Joe Matt and everything back then. That was pre Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison got me to change everything and move across the country. I would love to talk to Grant Morrison about this. I think he would get a kick out of it. But focus. So she's complaining. We're talking, and she's just like, all my brothers went to college, and my father said I can't go to college because I'm a girl, and blah blah blah, and girls are a waste of time. They just go and they meet a boy, they meet a man, and they get married, and he's like, you could meet a man without going to college, and me spending all this money. And she was just like, I felt bad for her. Plus, I was kind of flirting with her weird, in an ineffective way. Like that was my way of doing everything. Grant would out a spell on you. Yeah, he would put a spell on me, do some voodoo magic, shaman magic. So I'm talking with her every day, and I'm just like, again, I can't remember her name, but she knew I called her the Lavender Girl. She knew everybody called her the Lavender Girl. That was her thing. So I was just like, you could go to college. You could go to college, and I was going to a community college at the time because I was a sad sack. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, blah, blah, blah. I was working part-time jobs, and all my friends are leaving, so I was kind of miserable too. So I was trying to get her to go to my community college, and we could hang out outside of work. I was trying to do like the long con, and so I'm like, yeah, come, so I'm actually like getting the paperwork to the community college. I'm like, community college is great, you could afford it on the salary that we're making here, or the whatever the hourly rate that we're making here at the record store, and and take some classes, take 1 or 2 classes. You don't have to go like 12 credits. You could go 4 credits or 6 credits or whatever. She's like, oh, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Friday comes, I don't see her. Saturday, Sunday, I don't see her. Monday, she comes in. She's like, I took your advice. I enrolled in school. I'm going to go to college. I'm like, oh, great. Keep in mind, this is August. So school starts in September. She's like, yeah, I'm going to Colorado. I'm like, what? She's like, I'm leaving next week. She goes, I quit here. I just came in to get my stuff and say goodbye. She gives me a kiss on the cheek. She goes, thank you. Never saw her again. So keeping it real goes wrong. I always wondered how she's doing. If she's another one who like went to college. I like to imagine that she became like an astrophysicist or something. And, and she's like, it was that guy John over at Tower Records that changed my life, Or maybe just like her father said, she just met some guy, dropped out, and wasted dad's money. I don't know. So this is the treadmill. So that's that. Which one is this? Is this? No, this isn't my favorite one, is it? Oh, history lesson. Okay, I have. Oh, okay. This is a guy that recognizes him. He's like, oh, you're Joe Matt. I love Peepshow. Me and my girlfriend love Peepshow. And she went to college and became an activist. Don't worry. Well, this was the 90s. Who knows? So this guy's a fan. He's meeting him at the comic book store. He's like, oh, I love your comics. I love how real it is. And then he's like, he's just like, hey, call me Joe. Let's see. You want me to sign your books? And he's like, I don't know. This guy's taste is pretty questionable. So this guy's a superhero comic book fan, but he also gets Peepshow, and he's judging the guy's complimenting. And then in walks his beautiful girlfriend, and he's like, wow, what a doll! Oh my God, this guy, and he's just like, now he's getting shy and everything. And he's like, hey, you want to hang out? He's like, yeah, sure, I want to hang out. Now look how sinister this is. The fan comes up to him, says, "Hey, buddy, I love your comic book. Will you autograph this?" And then he's kind of like, "This guy's a jerk. He likes superhero comics. Look at his hot girlfriend. Let's hang out." So in his mind, he thinks he's gonna like become whatever and get a chance with the girlfriend. So he's like looking around for the girlfriend, like, "Hey, look at this guy, whatever." It's just, he's waiting for him to call, because he wants to hang out with the girlfriend. Like, how creepy is that? What is that, beta orbiter? Is that what that's called? Is like the definition? So the guy invites him to like a punk rock show, and he goes. And he hates the music. He hates the crowd. There's the girl from Ipanema from the last issue, and, "Hey, Joe, what are you doing here?" He's very uncomfortable. He's like, "Hey, it's not his scene." I forget what music he likes. But I think he likes like older like art rock and stuff like that. So he's at this like punk rock scene. He doesn't like it. And now he's like shy talking to this beautiful girl. And he's looking at all the hot girls in the club, driving home, and where's the boyfriend? Where's the boyfriend? And he's like, "Hey, look who I found at the club." And he's just sitting home smoking pot, which Joe doesn't. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. He's also very cheap. That's another thing. He doesn't spend any money. In the first issue, they were talking about that a lot. Tish and him were fighting. She's like, "Let's go out to dinner. Let's do something," but he is doing comics. And his comics at this point aren't really doing too well, so he doesn't make that much money. So he has a lot of free time, and he makes comics that don't really sell. So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. In that last issue, that was a big deal. It's like, you don't have any money, you don't have any do anything, and you're complaining. So now he's trying to be cool. He's like, he doesn't want to smoke pot, but he doesn't want to offend. He's like, "Hey, cheer up. We're going to fix you up." He goes, "Just leave it to me. I'm in a band, so I'm going to fix you up with the girl." When I went to college, I was everyone's go-to guy. When they tried problems, I was like Sherlock Holmes. "Oh, yeah, okay, Bucky, we got more in common than we realized." So now he's like, "Oh my God, he's gonna fix me up with a girl." Blah blah blah. He's so excited, and he's like, "Yeah, okay, Matt, we'll see." And he's starting to realize, Joe Matt ain't all I could. He's like, "Oh my God," and now he's talking with the girl. He's like, what does he say? And it sounds like I'm ordering a pizza or something. So he's given all the details of all the girls that he wants, and he's just like, "Oh God, whatever," and they think it's cute, and they're setting them up with the girl. He's shaving, he's hanging out with this guy, and look how, like, what is the word? He's like basically using them, like. He doesn't even like the guy's taste in music. He doesn't like the band. He doesn't particularly like the guy. He likes the girlfriend. He's hanging out with him because he likes his girlfriend. And now he's going to fix him up with the girl. And he's like, "Can you get me this girl? But not like this." So this is the girl they're setting him up with. He's like, Her? And he's like, "She's gorgeous. Oh my God. Like, she takes my breath away." He's like, "Oh, no, not her, not her." So now he's getting annoyed. That was the girl I wanted. And, she's flirting with him. He can't help it. And "Excuse me, are you Andy's girlfriend?" He said to him, he's like, that girl. He's like, "Oh man, like, look at all these girls hanging out," and he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know, he's so poor social skills. He's drawing himself on the toilet. Like, it's very realistic, and he's getting annoyed at the guy now, because like, when are you going to set me up with this girl? Like, how ungrateful is that? She's doing palm reading, and he's like, oh, lusting after her as she's the girlfriend. And he's like, "Oh, we weren't doing anything," as the boyfriend comes out, and what's he say here? Haha. I don't even remember the joke, but just long diatribes, What's he doing here? He's, you can only imagine. He's daydreaming about the girl from Ipanema, and, he's just gross talking about this, and he's getting mad that his friend isn't setting him up with the girl, and he's like, "Oh man." So this is, where it really gets so. His friend and the girlfriend break up. So he's like, "Oh," so his friend is like, "Can we hang out? Whatever, what's going on?" And we're having problems. They didn't break up. They're having problems. He's like, "I don't know what's going on." So now this guy, the rock and roll guy, the punk rock guy, is complaining about his girlfriend, and he's just like, "Oh man, that's horrible," and he's like thinking, look at him, he's smiling, like, this might be his opportunity. He could move on it. So he's like, "What about band practice?" He's like, "Oh my God, I forgot band practice." So he runs out, and now he's there with the girl, and now he knows that they're having problems. and he's thinking like he could snake his way in, and he's just sitting there hanging out with the hot girl, and he's just like, he's honest. To his credit, he's honestly interested in everything she has to say. But then again, he he he's got that like Mac thing going on, and he's checking out her butt. She's like, "Are you checking out my butt?" He's like, "Yeah, it's a fine butt." They're flirting. They're flirting, and she's enjoying it. And I forgot about this. So she goes back to his apartment, and what does he do? He's got jars of pee because he doesn't want to go to the bathroom and deal with that fat guy with no shirt on. You know what I mean? So he's like, "Oh my God, he's got to hide the jar of pee." She loves the Viewmasters, and what did she say? What I should get going. What's wrong? What's wrong? I guess good night. Thanks for everything. He goes, he's trying to kiss her. He's trying to kiss her. She's like, bye. He's like, she had a big butt anyway. So, you know, sour grapes. That was his chance to try to kiss her. He didn't take it, and it's her fault that he didn't make the move. Perfect. What's going on? Is this? Uh, you know, I'm gonna. Oh, Binswacker. This is my favorite one. Oh my God, this is my favorite one. This will be my last one that I'll show. So he wakes up in his disgusting apartment, and he's just talking to everybody, talking to his buddies. What's he talking about? Divorced. She asked for, so a girl from his past just found out that she's divorced, and she asked how he was doing. Oh, okay, cool. Oh my God, and all the girls in his fantasy life are getting mad at him because now he's obsessed with this girl that he hasn't seen in years, but she's divorced now, so maybe he has a chance. They don't even live in the same state. There's the girl from Ipanema walking around. She doesn't even talk to him. She's disgusted by him. And what is this? Adult videos. He's pretending he's not interested with his friends, so he's cleaning up. There's the that's the gross landlord, and he's just talking to him, and he's trying to be nice. And what happened? A gulp. I'm sorry. I'm waiting for a check. Oh, he doesn't have money for the rent. That's the landlord. Duh. That's the landlord. And the landlord's nice to him, talking to him about everything. He's like, oh look, he got a new video. Have you seen the show Cinema Insomnia? No, I haven't. I heard it. Oh, Insomnia with David Tell. He's actually from my hometown. So they're talking, and he's real nice. He's offering him food. The landlord is just great. He's like, my VCR broke. Can I borrow your VCR? So he's going up to watch the new porn. Look at it. He's hooking up the porn, and he's watching porn on this little tiny screen. Look at him. He's like, oh. And then as soon as he's finished, he's disgusted with himself. He's going through all the letters about this girl. And him and Tish, she broke up with him by letter. So they had a long distance relationship. So that whole time he was lusting after the other girl, he was still with Tish. She just went away for school. And now they broke up. And now he's freaking out. Oh my God, she broke up with me. I'm alone. I'm so happy. I could see other girls. I'm alone. And then his Seth is just like, basically telling him what you need to do. Give him real advice. And now what's he doing? There's that punk rock guy. And he's like, oh, let me give you that girl your phone number. He's trying to help him out. He's trying to be a real guy. The hot girlfriend is telling him stop pushing him. He's shy. And what does he do? Cinema Insomnia as a horror show. Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the David Tell show. He's returning the video, and he's returning the VCR to his landlord, and the landlord's not feeling too well. What's going on? And he's like, what's going on? Where am I? Ow. And he's freaking out. Just imagine you're having a medical emergency, and Joe Matt is the guy to help you. So he's like, we got to go help him. We got to go help this guy. And he goes back to his apartment. He runs away. He runs away, and he's talking with his comic book friends, and they're giving him real legit advice on what to do. And he's of course advised, and they're arguing about the tip. He's like, when you spend $1, you're not just spending the dollar, you're spending every future cent of interest that you could accrue from that dollar. He's just like everything about him. He makes George Costanza and a guy from Curb Your Enthusiasm look like good. So he's practicing guitar. He's missing Tish because he couldn't wait to get rid of her. And she breaks up with him by letter, and now he misses her. And he's making like a soup. There's no way I'm throwing out this much food just over a few bugs. I could fish him out. So there's bugs in his food. He's taking the bugs out. And now his landlord, the wife, is like, oh yeah, he went to the hospital. He had a stroke. And she's like, oh my God. He's like, is this food good? And she starts eating the food. And he's like, big old pot of stew, and she's tasting it, and he's freaking out because he's too cheap. He's like, oh. And now, and yeah, bugs could be in his food. He could pee in jars, but the fact that she put her lips to the spoon freaks him out. He's just gross. Now, he's talking to friends, and what does he find out? He's like, uh, now he's lamenting Tish. She's got a new boyfriend. They're still writing to each other. Blah 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 blah. And I'm going fast because it's 15 minutes. So there's puke on the street. He's freaking out. It's like he's grossed out by germs and spit, stuff like that. But like he lives in filth. Like, look at this apartment. No sheet on the mattress. There's the hot chick again, and he's buying art supplies. She's goofing on him, and she's like flirting with him. She's like, oh, you paint. What did she say here? You could, why don't you paint me naked? She's flirting with him, and he's like, oh, that would be, he's getting all shy and everything. And this pervy old guy, he's like, you want to buy my books about astral projection? And they're making fun of him, and he's like, oh my god, like, she was flirting with you, dude. So another girl is from the past is hitting on him. He's thinking about asking her out, but he can't. They're talking about music. And he's got he's got game. He could chat up these girls, but like, he's just riddled with self-doubt, and he just can't seem to pull the trigger. He comes home, he forgot to flush the toilet. He's just gross. He's gross. Now he's in the bathroom. Remember, he shares a bathroom with other people in his house. The old guy's trying to come in, and this new girl is moving in, this beautiful Korean girl, and he's like instantly in love. And the next few issues are him just obsessing over the housemate, and she's really sweet, she's really nice, and he's talking with these guys again. And then this is what gets me, is she's like, oh, my husband's home from the hospital, he had a stroke. And he's like, oh, good. And to his credit, he's actually happy. The landlord and the landlord's wife are genuinely nice people. They're poor folks that actually need people living in the house to make the ends meet. Montreal's rather expensive. And he's like, oh, how is he? And he goes, Bruno, how you doing? He goes, Binswacker. He had a stroke. He can't speak. And I tell you, I'm not delivering the emotional impact that it meant, but he was concerned about the landlord, and now Binswacker. So now for the rest of the series, this guy talks nonsense. And I tell you, man, when I read this as a kid, I actually cried. It has letters to the fan. Why? I don't know. I have a fear of strokes. I have a fear of dementia. It's one of my fears. Everybody has those things that set them off. But I've seen my grandmother get dementia. I've seen one of my friend's mother, who I thought was one of the smartest, capable people on the planet, reduced to a child. And to me, like dementia and losing your mind and personality, to me, that's like akin to demonic possession. I saw my mom go through it, and oh my god, I there's nothing worse than watching your mom just deteriorate, and her eyes change. And I'm not a religious person, but I could see how in the olden times people believed in demonic possession when they saw like mental changes in their loved ones. When my mom was going through her dementia, her eyes took like a sinister quality, and I didn't like looking at her. And anything you said to my mother, she took it negative, and you fought with her. And it's your mom, you love your mom, so like, you can't just accept it and smile. I could accept it and smile when it was my friend's mom. I felt bad, but it just didn't have that. So there was a lot of like fighting in my mom's last couple of weeks, because you just can't help it. Like, she know, just imagine like some demon knows all about like that time you pooped your pants when you were in kindergarten, and then uses it against you when you're trying to help them. You can't help. Oh man. So, and this was before my mom went through all that, and this disturbed me and got me sad, just because the whole concept, I don't want to show that, the whole concept of dementia and Alzheimer's disease and strokes. Just, so now here I am in my 50s, like, and I say that to my wife, are you going to take care of me when I have my stroke? And she cries. It's just a sad thing. It's just something that I live in fear of. I don't know. Joe Matt is afraid of poverty and commitment and apparently a clean bedroom. I'm afraid of dementia. And you better believe that there's going to be if I ever get my comic book going, which looks like it might happen, that will be one of the stories that I will be addressing. And I already spoiled too much. But anyway, so many things in this comic that I actually love. So this is for there's a whole bunch more. I didn't take them out of the bags, but I guess I'll show. But look at this beautiful cover, beautiful cover. You know, his fantasy life. I got two. I don't know how I ended up with 2 issues. Look at this cover. You know, this was such a good story. Oh my God, this is him as a child collecting comic books. His child. So this is the second story. I don't know how I ended up with 2 copies of everything. Him as a child, then back to him as an adult. This story is absolutely gross. But I got to, and then the size of the comic book changed. Did you see that? How the comic is it's almost like pamphlet size. This is him with trying to hit on the Korean girl that lives in the apartment. Now this is him dealing with that rock and roll guy and his girlfriend, reading how they were portrayed in the comic and how they're mad because the rock and roll guy is like, I thought you were friends with me, but the whole time you were macking on my girlfriend, and then him realizing that he's going to die alone. It is poignant. How's that for pretentious term? It's a poignant, disgusting, true comic. Like these, and I don't know, are there comics like this anymore? Like, I'm sure if there were comics like this, they would all be like non-binary, gender neutral, gender fluid people. But that stuff didn't exist back then. But mental illness did. Mental illness still exists now, and mental illness existed then. And Joe Matt was a troubled genius. Like, I don't know. I'm fascinated by the guy. Would I be friends? I would be friends with the guy. If he lived next door to me, I think I would be friends with. And then I would find an unflattering portrayal of myself in the comic book. And I think at this point in my life, I'd be like, well, like that story, didn't you know I was a scorpion? So you can't even get mad. Can you get mad at the blind guy for not being able to see? But anyway, I see I still got 5 people. I got 12 likes. Anybody want to say anything? Anybody want to ask anything? Anything you want to know? Fabrizio, how you doing? Bucky, Marcus, Jeff, all the people in the chat. I'm doing this live on YouTube. So as soon as the chat, it shows up, it floats, and then it disappears. So if anybody said anything that I may have missed, let ask again. At 12 o'clock, I'm going to be talking with Agent Zero, about his comic, and the name escapes me right now, so forgive me, Agent Zero, if you're in the chat. So anybody want to bring up anything? Anybody want to talk about anything? Any comments, questions, concerns? Bucky, how you doing? How's everybody? This Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be speaking with Narwhal. So Narwhal has Foreign Agent, Nosferatu. Oh, no, that's not Nos. Yeah, that's Nosferatu. And I have 2 copies of Nosferatu over here. Chrome Dog. That's right. Chrome Dog. Thank you. So, all right. I guess the concerns and questions and comments are disappearing. Anybody interested in Joe Matt? You could pick up I think there's 14 issues of Peepshow, and they get harder and harder to find in floppy format. So I think if you're really interested, you might want to check out biography Fritz von Erich, Master of the Iron Claw. Okay, thank you. Bucky's always good with the suggestions. If you go to Fantagraphics, I think there's 2 collections. I think there's 2 trade paperbacks. There might be a third. I don't know, but 1, 2, or 3 books as opposed to 14 floppies that are really tough to find. But I'm a freak, and now I got to look to see if I have the first edition in my other unopened bag. So I've been speaking for an hour. I have another hour before my next live chat, so I'll be back in an hour with Zero Agent. So I'm gonna shut this down and go on Twitter and promote my next live chat. I'll come on back. Let's see what Chrome Dog's all about, and I'll see you in an hour. All right. How do I turn this off? Thanks a lot, everybody. I'll see you.